Diablo 4 has easily been one of the most disappointed game releases in human history. Initially, when it came out, in less than a month, it officially sold more than 20 million copies. And after a month, the last news that we have was that it had sold roughly close to 30 million copies lifetime. And there is a chance it has even surpassed it at this point. And yet, Diablo 4's player attention has been less than 0.0001. It can barely get 20k concurrent players on a new season launch at this point. And that's not because people got burnt out and tired of playing such an amazing game. No. Diablo 4 has been one of the greatest disappointments in gaming history, with its lackluster loot system, crafting, itemization, skills, gameplay loops, absolute lack of endgame after literally almost 3 years after being on the market, and now IGN is gonna tell us that Vessel of Hatred is gonna be good. It's gonna be good, guys. Yes. Crimson Desert. A solid 6 out of 10. If you don't agree, you lack media literacy, Chud. But Diablo 4, oh, Vessel of Hatred, my lord, isn't that a minimum 8 out of 10? No, seriously, IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. Which is not true in the slightest, even though I haven't played it yet, but everything I have seen, oh man, is it bad.
After 2024's Vessel of Hatred expansion left me dangling off a narrative cliff like a hapless sanctuary peasant, Lord of Hatred had quite a lot right.
The narrative of that expansion was so bad, I literally made a 30-minute video, which was not even a react, of me talking how absolutely insanely bad the story is on every level. I mean, that video is still worth to watch, by the way, if you haven't seen it, okay? They did nothing right for the story. The story at no point made any sense. And I have a feeling that I would not want to give, honestly, Blizzard my money, but I do have to experience the story to make a video how bad it is at this point. And yes, I'm instantaneously assuming the story is going to be bad. If it's not bad, I'll tell you, but at this point, I have absolutely no belief that Blizzard is ever going to make a story that's not pure garbage.
Riding on its ability to deliver on that momentum,
Mephisto, you shall darken the world no longer.
And give me a reason to become hopelessly lost in its loot-filled grind once again.
Loot-filled grind? Oh no, this is definitely a certified IGN banger, is it not? Guys, the loot, the grind, the loot. Yeah, this is gonna be a certified IGN banger, I feel.
The good news is that it's done exactly that, thanks to a tight, satisfying campaign, 2 new classes that I've already spent dozens of hours experimenting with and min-maxing builds for, and an endgame that's so loaded with things to do that I occasionally forgot some of the systems even existed. If you've been waiting for a reason to dive back into
That's not a good thing to say, that the endgame is so filled with garbage that you don't even remember that half of it exists. That's what makes it bad.
Diablo 4's particular brand of misery, Lord of Hatred has plenty of compelling reasons to do so.
I barely knew you existed until today. But now you've stepped onto my stage, and you thought there would be no consequences.
As a proper end to the demonic battle that's been building since 2023, Lord of Hatred's cutscenes are unsurprisingly jaw-dropping, but it's the right...
If there's one thing that's probably decent, it is the cutscenes. I'll give you that. Blizzard still does the cutscenes good.
And pacing of this short and sweet 8-ish hour...
Okay, no one even dared comment about that World of Warcraft meme fight cutscene from the War Within.
...campaign that stands as some of Blizzard's best work yet. It had me on the edge of my seat from beginning to end, with all sorts of twists, turns, and tragedies, references to deep Diablo lore, and motivations for even its most irredeemable characters that had me debating demon philosophy with my friends in party chat.
What the hell? Are you debating demon philosophy? Oh my god. Oh lord, that is the dumbest sentence I have heard in a while. Wow.
As we smashed our way through gobs of imps.
My queen, let him walk.
God, dude, this is literally the peak of millennial thinking. Evil, not evil. Good, not good. Also, that's an Amazon 10 out of 10. She looks like a man. Woo. Yep. And the man looks more feminine than the woman. That's nice.
Walk free, so that all who look upon him will be reminded of what hate can do.
Sure, the campaign...
Wait, Mephisto is supposed to be able to literally spread hate by his mere presence. And, I mean, he's literally there, super juiced up, because of a rando dude that doesn't make a lot of sense, aka Akrat. And nothing's happening. I mean, we have... This is one of the things that modern writing has done with Diablo series. They have effectively turned the primevals into a joke. A powerless, useless, a boring, dull joke that can't do anything. They're constantly like, oh, do you want to actually help me, Chud? And you're like, yeah, sure, I mean, you're weak anyway. This is happening throughout all of the Diablo series. This is not honestly just a Blizzard fault in general. We have these situations where uselessly bad villains get us to help them for no reason, and they betray us, as always. And they're weak, as always. And it's just so bad that all of the villains in Blizzard games are just bad in general. This is not even just a Diablo problem.
Is only a tiny part of the inevitable hundreds of hours that will be spent mindlessly exploding loot goblins into sparkly treasures, but part of the reason I'm so attached...
Anyone who thinks loot goblins are a good design does not deserve to have an opinion
to this depressing and violent world is precisely because of the mysteries, drama, and unforgettable characters that occupy it. Lord of Hatred takes full advantage of all of those things, making it easily one of my favorite Diablo campaigns to date. That campaign primarily takes place in Sanctuary's latest locale, Skovos, a Mediterranean-style island that plays an especially interesting role in Diablo's lore as the birthplace of humanity. This new region has many of the things we've come to expect from the series, like an incredibly alarming human to horrifying monster ratio, and destroyed places that are covered in disgusting fleshy blisters.
This is the new place? I'm sorry, it looks like every other place that we have ever seen in Diablo 4.
And whatever the heck a corpse clot is. But plenty of things here are a breath of fresh air too.
Oh, this actually looks new-ish.
Extremely beautiful and not yet destroyed areas that reflect the fact that this ancient place has been spared the worst of the horrors the mainland has faced all these years. The region has also got lots of diversity to it, from Lovecraftian coded
diversity, boys! Yes! I love diversity! 10 out of 10 IGN.
Foggy shorelines to volcanic hellscapes, each adding new reasons to
yay, volcanic hellscapes is so new. Wow, yay.
Keep on trekking around in search of loot. Skovos...
Bro, half of the original base game is volcanic shit. Stop.
Isn't nearly as densely filled with new dungeons as the mainland of Sanctuary, but the stuff that is there, especially the new strongholds to conquer, are well worth doing.
There, we've reclaimed the courtyard.
Aside from the finale to the...
It took 3 years, but finally Blizzard, by the way, is making it so if you conquer a stronghold, when the season resets, you're gonna keep that conquered stronghold and you don't have to reconquer it. 3 years. It took 3 years. I mean, we're literally talking about a company that wanted you to fucking click on all the statues again every season at the beginning. Insane.
Story and some new places to explore. Lord of Hatred also introduces 2 very cool character classes to shake things up. The returning Paladin is about what you'd expect if you journeyed across Sanctuary as one in Diablo 2, with loads of protection
The Paladin is garbage. The Paladin is an insult to intelligence. The Paladin is made in such a way that you can slam your head on a keyboard and you will still have a 100% competitively functional build. That's how bad the Paladin is. There is literally no way to be wrong with the Paladin. That's how bad it is.
Abilities and ridiculously powerful build options like the Aura build my co-op mate designed so he could just walk around destroying everything in his path without even having to lift a finger. The Warlock, on the other hand, is completely new to the series.
The Warlock is so stupid. It's just a fallacy. I absolutely hate the fallacy that the Warlock is gonna take control of the literally weakest, stupidest demons that look like slugs and somehow be able to destroy the primevals. That alone, by the way, I think is stupid. But they added a Warlock to Diablo 2. Granted that that Warlock did have a bunch of bad things about it. It was blatantly overpowered. It was blatantly too good, too easy, too everything. But it fit like a real Diablo 2 character. Not gonna lie, it did. It did. Now, granted, how long Blizzard can do that for Diablo 2 and make it successful, I'm very scared for the future, but it functioned. In Diablo 3, what I'm seeing about the Warlock is like, this is a fucking joke. This is a joke. This class is so dumb. This class is just supposed to be super overpowered, and that's why you want to play it, and everything about it is just kind of lame. All your skills are just a different color of the color purple.
Not counting Diablo 2 having recently retroactively added it for the 30th anniversary, of course, which has you claiming Hell's Power as your own in a wide variety of diverse builds. That ranges from the Necromancer-like Legion options, they're all about summoning demons to do your fighting for you, to the Vanguard build that turns you into a demon yourself, for those who prefer a more personal touch to their wanton destruction. The Paladin is pure nostalgic comfort food that I'm glad to have added to the roster, but I prefer the new hotness of the Warlock, especially just how
everyone knew, by the way, that the Paladin is going to be added at some point.
Diverse you can get with it by going down each of the 4 disciplines, or by
Dude, IGN's audio is just all over the place.
Mixing and matching them together to create something unexpected. What's even bigger than these 2 new skill trees, though, is that the 6 already available have been completely reworked. The changes are most...
You know what's the insane thing about this? This is the ultimate peak Diablo 3ification of Diablo 4, but it also makes no sense. Because you see, Diablo 3 actually got rid of runes because it was too hard to balance. And Vessel of Hatred is literally... No, Lord of Hatred, what is it called? Lord of Hatred. Lord of Hatred is literally bringing back a mechanic that Diablo 3 deemed not good enough to actually be a part of the game. So, they're just now adding fancy things like this. Which, by the way, again, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I predicted this the moment I saw this. We're gonna now get the good old affixes for items of plus cold damage, plus fire damage. yes, itemization. Kill me in Minecraft. Thank you.
Mostly centered around the fact that instead of having a bunch of highly attractive passive perks that did simple yet incredibly efficient things like increasing the damage you deal or the attacks you can withstand, they're now built around making more meaningful choices. For example, in the Warlock tree,
none of this is more meaningful.
You can pick between making your defensive wall of demons encircle your enemy, trapping them within, or breaking apart into a pack of vicious sluggers after a period.
Whoa! Whoa! Did you see that? That's impactful. That is the most impactful thing I have seen in my life. I hate my life.
Sorceress, you can now decide to take your fire hydra snakes and turn them into ice snakes instead, if that elemental effect is more your speed, or if it works better with whatever mad scientist build you're concocting.
Notice how this is being played on the console, because IGN is literally a console player. Disgusting.
These changes are really awesome, as they push you away from picking the boring, passive upgrades and instead help your character feel much more unique, even when
It is a boring passive upgrade, you dolt. It's literally a boring passive upgrade.
playing alongside those using your same character class. Still, there's also plenty of fat to cut, like how skills now allow you to sink up to 15 points into them versus the previous 5. After you've picked your base skills and modified them to your liking, the rest of the leveling experience is pretty much just deciding which ones to focus your points into, recreating a lot of the same uninteresting decisions we were making with the previous trees. I still like the changes they've made here, especially the
Bro, even IGN to a certain degree understands that the skill twig is still a twig.
added freedom to augment how those powers work in more meaningful ways, but I do wish they'd have gone a bit further in that direction.
This is such bad gameplay. This is crazy.
Once you've bested the campaign and maxed out your character level, you'll quickly find yourself in the all-important endgame loop, which involves navigating an absolutely staggering number of upgrade mechanics, the gathering materials you'll need to farm for them, as well as
Staggering amount of tip of red generation. Charge slot. Yes, this is amazing. 10 out of 10. How would amazing.
materials you'll need to farm for them, as well as scooping up the best gear you can find and obsessing over every little stat they rolled. This is the crux of the Diablo experience, and Lord of Hatred is its most dense, meticulously customizable version yet. That means you'll have to contend with truly some of the most
Okay, so this guy is effectively saying all the things you didn't like about the Diablo 4 now, the expansion has that but more. Ugh.
obscenely complicated menus around, which have only grown more cumbersome over the years. But you're in for a relentlessly rewarding ride if you go through the trouble of learning it all. Having been along for that ride from the start, I love obsessing over every little detail and finding tons of ways to maximize my lethality. Finally finding a piece of gear that perfectly fits your build, or saving up enough materials to reroll a stat that gives you that extra DPS you need to break through to the next world tier is exactly what chunky ARPGs like this one are all about. Rolling into an endgame activity
Thankfully, no one else but IGN thinks like that.
to watch all your careful preparation and planning turn into you absolutely stomping all over enemies and melting the boss in half a second is downright awesome. And knowing there's plenty of runway with 12 tiers of endgame difficulty, up from just 4 previously, is just insane. The latest addition to that min-maxing meta is the talisman system, which allows you to collect magical runes that slot into yet another loadout menu. Practically speaking, this is a clever way of offering set bonuses that are usually found on specific armor sets. Except here, you can use whatever armor you want, while talismans stand on their own. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, honestly, just because I'm so
Wait. We're here, boys. This is literally Diablo 3. So you're gonna have to. You're mandated to have this, otherwise you can't play the game. How do I know this? Because the way that you could play Diablo 3 in the endgame was by having a set that had some kind of, while X skill is active, you take 99.9999999. That's not an over-exaggeration, sadly. Less damage from all sources. And this is the same. Shadow Form reduces damage taken by 25%, blah, blah, blah. And yes, look at this. Your Abyssal skills damage is increased by 350%. This is also what Diablo 3 set items had. There were items that literally, set items that literally like, okay, this ability now deals 10,000% more damage multiplicative. Yeah. It's here. The final Diablo 3ification of Diablo 4 is upon us, my friends. What a great time to be alive. Considering I literally could not care less at this point what happens to Diablo 4, I for a year now have completely given up hope that Blizzard will ever fix this game or make it into at least not garbage. So I don't care. I don't care that we are now completely irreversibly Diablo 3. I don't care. I literally could not care less at this point. Blizzard chose to destroy Diablo 4. What am I supposed to do? Cry about it? No, I'll just play a better game.
Own. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, honestly, just because I'm so used to the entire...
No, that's because you're an idiot. If you need time figuring out what the hell do these things with one line of increased critical strike damage mean, you're just not the smartest tool in the shed.
Idea of a set bonus being a reward for collecting and sporting armor pieces that belong together, but decoupling the need to use specific pieces of equipment ends up being a pretty smart move, though it does add another thing to optimize and obsess over, and frankly, Diablo 4 already has so many of those that I sometimes forgot about talismans altogether. Still, they're a neat addition, and I'm glad they exist, especially since it gave me another thing to squeeze a few extra stats out of. That's always welcome. There's also the Heraldric Cube, a nifty magical device that does everything from turning common items into uniques to adding yet another stat boost to your best masterworked gear at the cost of locking it out of any and all future augmentation.
Wow.
After spending hours tinkering around with this thing, I still feel like I've barely scratched.
By the way, I told you the cube from Diablo 3 is coming. I mean, the Heraldric Cube from Diablo 3, Lamau. God, I hate being right sometimes. I wish I was wrong. I wish Diablo 4 was a great game that was fun to play, not a fucking dumpster garbage pile. But it's a dumpster garbage pile, so what the fuck am I supposed to do about it? Great. It's great. You know what? It's great. You know, it's fine. It's fine. It's great. It's great. This is great.
The surface with all it can do, but it's already quite the game changer, offering numerous new ways to squeeze even more power out of all that grinding you did. Combined with the loot filter, which allows you to target specific items with specific affix.
Do you think they're going to remove the loot filter? Because the reality is, everyone with a brain will understand if they actually create a loot filter for the loot that they want, that, oh wow, why haven't I received a single drop in 5 hours of gameplay? Interesting. Why is that? Well, that's because the loot is incredibly bad.
As you continue your climb toward ever greater power, the endgame journey has fewer annoyances than ever before. Now you can create rules to automatically filter through the loot you earn down to the most minute details, removing the need to sift through all the junk you don't need, so long as you have the strength of will to figure out how to configure those rules to your exact specifications. Speaking of the endgame grind, Lord of Hatred takes yet another stab at providing a more compelling laundry list of activities to engage with while you carry out that search for loot. To be fair, I also praised Diablo 4 Vanilla's endgame based on my pre-release review time with it, but the benefit of hindsight and a couple more weeks of playtime on the live servers ultimately saw it wear pretty thin shortly thereafter, so it's hard to say for sure whether or not this attempt will fare any better after a few months. What I can say is that the system Blizzard built in this version has the least friction and the greatest variety of things to do so far, and the dozens of hours I've spent with it have been really enjoyable. The main tool Lord of Hatred uses to get you into that long road of grinding is called War Plans, which works like a...
Now, granted, I did say that War Plans does look at least somewhat good, but if you watch this channel, you know I'm right about like 9 things out of 10, and that one thing I'm not right about usually doesn't even matter when it comes to gaming. But when it comes to Diablo 4 and saying, oh, this looks like it has potential, I have 0%. Yes, I'm not even joking. I have said so many things that they look like they could actually be fun and interesting in Diablo 4, and I have been right 0 times. So, I thought that this could be fun. This could be good. This is actually a good change per se. This is like this is just a copy of the Last Epoch endgame, effectively, right? So it should be good, right? But again, I have literally a 0% right prediction when it comes to something actually being fun in Diablo 4 or even remotely good. So, what am I supposed to do?
Curated playlist of activities that you're directed to one after another, all of which offer compelling rewards. The best part of this is just how easy it is to jump from activity to activity, since you no longer need to hunt for Nightmare Dungeon keys or manually walk over to Helltide events. You can now teleport to the next activity on your playlist in a matter of seconds and keep the good times rolling.
Oh boy.
Whatever's here puts up a good fight.
One moment you'll be blasting your way through the pit, the next you'll jump over to go stomp out a lair boss before returning to the war table to collect a batch of rewards. As you progress, these
Just want to say something about this dude right here.
of seconds and keep the good times rolling.
I hope
You see this guy? Racher? This is one of the greatest written characters in World of Warcraft history. Do you know his story? My village is attacked by demons. I need to protect it. Are you following? This is not my child, but I'm being a cuck right here. Are you following? I can't leave this child alone. I must defeat the demons. I must protect my people. Are you following? Are you understanding what I'm saying right here? Are you understanding that this person wants to protect his village from the demons, and he has a child to protect? Yeah, he just completely abandons that. You kill a couple of demons, and he's like, all right, we can abandon everything I said matters to me. That's literally the storyline of this dude. That's literally the storyline of this dude. I hate Blizzard so much.
whatever's here puts up a good fight.
Your boss before returning to the war table to collect a batch of rewards. As you progress, these trees will offer more branching paths for you to pick from, and will start offering modified versions of these events that target specific rewards. Even cooler are the new perk trees associated with each of the endgame activities included in war plans, which allow you to modify how these events work and let you customize your loot for doing so. Again, it's still hard to say whether or not this will have legs after we've been running war plans for a few seasons, but I like their chances of keeping my attention, or at least not annoying me with weird barriers to entry just to run these activities. That said, though the premise of the entire war plan system seems to be reducing the headache of accessing endgame content, it has a pretty fatal flaw in how it works when you're playing with friends. Since your war plans playlist is randomized each time you run it, and your friends each have their own specific things to tackle in their own orders that are unlikely to align with yours, if you're tagging along with a buddy to run through them, you'll almost instantly feel like a second-class citizen when you see a fragment of the rewards they get. You still get credit for tackling these activities, including loot at the end of each bested challenge, and some XP to go towards your various...
Man, we could go deep into analyzing that sentence about second-degree citizen or whatever the hell he said, because, man, that has so many layers of modern-day isms.
war plan skill trees, but your actual progress toward your own war plan will only advance if your next activity just so happens to align with theirs. When I wasn't the party leader picking the next activity, I felt like I was wasting my time and playing inefficiently by not making progress on my own playlist. And when I was the party leader making the picks, I felt guilty that my co-op buddies weren't seeing the same level of progress as me. It's one of those small details that completely undermines an otherwise good thing and weirdly disincentivizes even doing war plans in co-op altogether, since it's more efficient to just work on your own playlists in parallel. Truly a massive oversight that will hopefully get corrected in short order. The other major
Yeah, Diablo 4 devs are known to correct things.
game activity is Echoing Hatred, effectively a horde mode that throws every enemy it can find at you and asks you to withstand the onslaught for as long as you're able. It starts out at the lowest world tier difficulty, then climbs as you push through waves of enemies until it inevitably reaches absurd levels of challenge that lead to your inevitable loss and rewards you relative to how well you performed. Interestingly, access to this activity is locked behind a fairly rare, at least in my experience, consumable drop you'll need to get every time you want to test your metal. But this mindless, brutally
Jesus Christ, it's the third expansion and we're still killing the Tomb Lord. I can't.
every time you want to test your metal. But this mindless, brutally challenging marathon is exactly the type of activity I love in ARPGs, and I also found it pretty useful as a way of gauging which world tier your current build is ready to withstand. It is a bit weird that so much of the endgame, specifically the warplane system, is about removing barriers to getting back into the endgame action, while Echoing Hatred appears to be a super fun mode you'll only get to play every once in a blue moon for whatever reason.
Oh, don't worry about it. Anything in this game that requires effort, Blizzard will nerf it probably in the first 10 seconds of the game releasing. Will nerf it so everyone can do it constantly because obviously. Also, this is by the way, this is what people expected when first what's the activity called where you're in that place and you have to kill the council at the end? Anyway, that one. This is what people expected with that, but we didn't get it. But in any case, again, people are gonna complain. This is how it always happens in Diablo 4. People are gonna complain that they can't do this constantly, and then devs are gonna be like, okay, you can do this now constantly. There you go. That's how this works.
Finally, Lord of Hatred adds the feature we've all been asking for.
No one has been asking for fishing. Anyway, that's IGN. Where did they give their score here, okay? We have to get the score, right?
Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred offers a wonderfully satisfying conclusion to the Mephisto saga, with one of my favorite Diablo stories yet, some really compelling changes to build crafting, 2 equally interesting new classes, and an endgame that seems primed to be more accessible and life-devouring than ever before. There are a few missteps here and there, like the completely lame way the new endgame beyond the campaign mission convinced me to sink even more time into this.
There you go. 8 out of 10. Remember, boys, Crimson Desert is a 6 out of 10. Too hard. Diablo 4, garbage. 10 out of 10. Anyway, that was IGN. Bye.